this is going to be my co-stream of the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League Season 1 Showcase. Now, I'm on their YouTube channel. I don't know if this is going to be like a pre-recorded premiere that they just push live. I don't know if it's going to be like a live stream that suddenly shows up. They don't have a live tab here. So I'm assuming it's going to be some type of a pre-recorded premiere walking through all the Season 1 stuff. I'm going to end the previous stream where we were talking about Elder Scrolls and 6 and why I think it should be early access. And I'm going to bring you guys over with Redirect. Make sure as you guys come over, you smash the like button. And we will get into it. Red Dead Redemption 2 and Grand Theft Auto 6 looked exactly like their trailers. Yes, cinematics in a trailer look like the cinematics in the game. That doesn't tell me anything. We haven't seen gameplay of GTA 6. We have no idea what gameplay in GTA 6 will look like. If you think gameplay in GTA 6 is going to look as good as the cutscenes, I think you are in for a rude awakening. I think you're being foolish. There are so many examples of games that do this. The cutscenes and the cinematics always look significantly better than the gameplay because they can turn all of the settings and things up. Yeah, this is supposed to happen in 25 minutes. They're supposed to be doing a stream or something in 25 minutes, and I can outline my concerns about Kill the Justice League. What the heck is going on here? Oh. Some of my concerns about the Season 1 is primarily from what we've seen from the trailer thus now, which I can load up the trailer and we can watch this while we wait. My concerns mainly break down into the fact that if you really pay close attention to this trailer, you're getting here. I'll loop it so that it plays a couple of times. Right here, we can see the new Green Lantern fight. It's in an arena that we've already been in, so we're going to go to the same area that we fought Brainiac to fight the new Green Lantern. The Joker area looks interesting and the Joker looks cool, but again, we're just seeing more of the same. We're seeing the same enemies. We're seeing the same mechanics. We're seeing the same, like, here, kill these guys, blast this thing, take the thing and hit the thing. We're seeing, at some point, you're going to see the cannon fight. I believe it's in this next section. There's another Green Lantern section. There's another cannon fight. And to me, that's the concern, is if the gameplay is largely exactly the same, I don't think that's going to make for a very compelling offer for a lot of people to come back. Me being one of those people. I thought that the game got harsher scores than it deserved. I thought the 4s and the 5s and the 6s were still too harsh. I still stand by that. I think this game landed in a solid like 7 to a 7.5. I was going to give it an 8. But then when I played the end of the game and it rolled over into the end game, I dropped my score. I thought they did not do a good job with the ending. They did not do a good job with the baton pass into the end game. I thought the Brainiac fight was terrible. And they did not compel me to care about the end game and continuing. I don't think they did a good job with that, okay? And that's something that you have to consider when you're building a live service game is how do you get somebody to, you know, sort of transition from playing the main game to playing the end game. I thought the 8-Bit Dad, thank you for upgrading your membership. I thought the main game and the content loop and the gameplay was actually quite fun. I had a lot of fun playing it with my wife. Again, giving a game a 4 or 5 or a 6, I believe those scores should be reserved for like abysmal launches, like scoring a game in the same hemisphere as Redfall when it was a complete game, it was a well-optimized game, it ran well. Now, I do know in the months that followed, they pushed out updates that caused problems. All of my commentary about the game being well-optimized and the game being well built, that was all during, you know, the first opening weeks when they weren't having all of those problems. They've introduced a whole host of problems with some of their patches and some of their work, which is concerning. You can't really have a live service game where people can't play, right? Disconnects and crashes. and the like. Guys, do me a favor. This is the second stream of the day. We are coming from the initial stream this morning, so make sure and smash the like button. Get us those first 100 likes. There's almost 300 of you here. We should easily be able to hit that 100 likes super quick, so thank you so much for doing that. All of that is why I'm concerned about the game ongoing. It charted well in January. It was the third most sold game in January, and the game wasn't even out yet. That was just pre-orders. Of all of the games sold in February, it was in the top 10. I believe it was in 7th place. But if you looked at player numbers, it did not do well in February. So it had decent sales. Now, Warner Brothers said it fell below expectations. So commercially, I think it did okay. I don't think it did particularly well, but I don't think it absolutely flopped. I don't think you get in 3rd place for January and 7th place for February. I don't think we call that a flop. Now, you might call that a flop because of the budget and the licensure and the expectations from Warner Brothers. And guys, make sure as you're smashing the like, thank you for spamming the thumbs up there in chat, Hemi. Guys, make sure it's actually saving your like. We did this earlier, and we had a huge bump in the likes when people double checked. It's not been working properly, so do a double check while we wait for the live stream to start. They are going to be doing a live stream, a Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League Season 1 showcase. We'll be going live in about 20 minutes. So we're just gonna sit here and kind of have a conversation about it. And my opinion of the game is still that I believe it has a lot of potential as a live service game. I think they've got good groundwork. I think player movement. I think the shooting. I think the enemies and the speed of the game. I think all feels really, really great. I think if this would have been a generic looter shooter made by Gearbox, it would have probably received much better treatment. But because they attach themselves to superheroes and because it's Rocksteady, I believe that people obviously have very different expectations. Like, nobody says, oh, I'm going to go play a superhero game and I'm going to be running around shooting all of the time. And the shooting feels great, but I think the shooting gets overlooked as feeling great because people were expecting it to feel like a superhero game. I think there should have been a greater emphasis on each of the heroes' identities. So their maneuverability actually really emphasizes their identity. Like, I think King Shark was, he was my favorite. He felt the best. I felt like he had the most fun movement. At least, again, that was in my estimation. But I think that's kind of where it stops. Like, I don't feel like each of the characters, they don't feel like distinct enough from each other. Like, jumping differently and flying differently, and then in having like a different melee attack or like a different maneuverability attack, I don't think that that's enough to make them stand apart. So I wish I had a hero with Arkham Combat. Right, like if you had the Arkham Combat system, but you were playing as King Shark, kind of like how Miles and Peter felt distinct from each other in Spider-Man, I would think even more distinct, right? Like King Shark would feel very, very different from Harley and Deadshot and Captain Boomerang. And then maybe have some shooting, like interspersed. I just think they leaned too heavily into the looter shooter. It just doesn't feel, you don't feel like you're playing, to me, I don't think. You feel like you're playing as a superhero. Guys, again, welcome in. Remember, if you're lurking, remember if you're here on the regular, we appreciate you tuning in and supporting the channel. Make sure you go through that ritual of smashing the like button. That really helps us out, especially when we get that first 100 likes. When there's this many of you here, it really does help us. And we had a great day on members as well. You guys went crazy in the last stream. We're sitting at, whoop, that's not what I meant to do. We're sitting at 30 out of 50, so I'm going to give you guys credit for that. If you want to keep pushing that, that would be amazing. You guys did a crazy single gifted train. And we really, really appreciate that you guys did that. You guys, like, I think the record was, how many single gifteds in a row, what did it end up being? 26? I think 26. So we still have not had a 5, 10, 20, or 50 bumps. You guys could keep the single train going. I would count that. I think that would be fun to see how many singles we could get in a single day. That'd be amazing. 400 player average is very sad to see. Yeah, the player count fell very quickly. It fell very quickly, and I'll be honest, it didn't surprise me. My thought was, can they get people to come back? There's a couple of reasons why I think the player numbers fell very quickly. The number of people who completed the story was well in line with the percentages of other games. Like if you go look at most games, you know, they land in like the 20 to 30% completion of like who finished the story. And this game is certainly well within that hemisphere. But I think the reason people stopped playing is I don't think the game does a good job of handing you off into the end game. I also don't think the game has a communal feel. Like the communal punch that you feel in Helldivers, you feel like you're sort of immediately attached to something bigger than just you playing by yourself. And I think that because of that, this game makes it tough to keep coming back. Like I feel like a lot of people didn't really feel that connectedness, connected to other people, connected to other players, connected to an overarching objective. Because it feels like a single player game with live service kind of tacked on, I don't think there's a compelling reason to like, oh, I'm going to keep coming back. Does that make sense? Like when you played through The Division or Destiny or recently with Helldivers, when you log in, it's not your own map and your own experience. It's a connected world. And I think that would have been a really, really hard thing to pull off with this game, if I'm honest. I'm going to periodically take a bite of my sandwich if you don't mind. The mission designs were terrible. I thought the mission designs were fine, but they never went beyond that. Does that make sense? Like when I was playing through the game, I thought the mission design was fine. I was having fun. I thought it was doing a perfectly good job. But then when I got to the end, and the lead up to Brainiac was all of the same stuff, and the Brainiac fight was literally the Flash fight. It was the exact same fight as the Flash, with a slightly different mechanic of like, oh, he can heal if you don't kill the enemies, right? Okay. That's where I kind of fell out with the game. I was like, you're not compelling me to continue because it just doesn't feel like anything is changing. It doesn't feel like anything is evolving. And if you look at this trailer for Season 1, you'll notice that that's very much the theme here. There's a new Green Lantern fight. Doesn't look any different to me. And where are you fighting him? In the Brainiac room that you're already accustomed to. So it's not even a new area. And beyond that, like here we go again. We've done these events. We've fought these enemies. We've been in these environments, whether it's the cannon fight or the events that feel like public events. It doesn't look like we're going to get anything that actually feels new. Like, I've talked about this before with live service, right? Where you need psychological answers to the question, why should anybody come back and play this game in the 3rd month or the 6th month or whatever, right? And I've said that you need psychological answers to those questions. Well, Helldivers 2 has a ton of those answers. This game has technical answers. Why should I come back? Oh, well, there's new weapons. There's a new character. There's new content. Oh, no, those are technical. Those are technical answers. Do you see? They're technical answers. And because they're purely technical answers, they don't necessarily get at the heart of what it is that will keep you coming back. Yo, Brooklyn, you're going to get yourself a PSVR 2? Nice, dude. Yeah, I'll do that later, Kirk. Like, here's what I think a lot of companies keep doing. You guys have heard me say this before. I think they're like, oh, we can do live service. How? Oh, we'll do a battle pass and we'll do seasons. Okay, but no. That's like saying I can be a musician. Oh, how are you going to do it? Oh, I'm going to sing songs. I'm going to write songs. That's like a very simplistic understanding of what it takes to be a successful musician, is it not? So it's like, oh, you see a successful live service game like Destiny or like Fortnite, and all you see is the apples on the tree. And you're like, we can put apples on a tree. We can have an apple tree. And you go and you get apples and you staple them to the tree. It's like, yeah, that's not really an apple tree. You didn't do that organically. You just sort of took a game and slapped seasons and a battle pass on top of it, and it doesn't make for a compelling offer. It doesn't make for like a compelling, come back and play. And they will be either live or debuting a premiere in the next 10 minutes. We're just literally on their channel letting this loop because there's a season 1 showcase coming up. So if you guys are just tuning in, thanks for being here. If you want to talk in my chat, you got to smash the subscribe button, which is totally free. Got to hit the like button as well. And yeah, appreciate you guys being here. The issues of being a live service game: if the game is doing bad, less players will show up because they don't want to invest in a game that might get shut down. Right, it tends to compound itself. Yeah, we've talked about that before, the compounding effect of shrinking player base. If the player base shrinks, you see less people playing on your friends list, so you might be less inclined to play. Any matchmaking will be harmed because matchmaking will then take longer because there's less people to play. If there's less people to play in your region, when you do finally get matched with someone, you're going to struggle to find somebody to play with. Or when you do find somebody to play with, you're going to end up having a bad connection. All of those factors come into play. They all come into play because it's like, well, we're gonna boot up and play on a Friday night, and you go and boot up to play, and you end up not being able to play, or when you do get to play, it's a bad connection. So that's going to really shade your view of the game. You're going to feel like, well, I don't know if I really want to play this game because it's bad quality, or it's low quality. It's I'm not able to enjoy it, or I'm not able to have a good time, or it's glitching now. It's bad. And so then you're going to play less. And when you play less, that has that compounding effect of like, well, less and less people are playing. Like there's no way around it. It's like it's inevitable at that point. When the player base numbers start sliding down that scale, it's almost like there's no turning back at that point. You're going to have a hard time compelling people to come back and play a game when the experience is laggy or long drawn out matchmaking. They're literally going to say, yeah, I was playing. Yeah, I tried to play. Yeah, I was having fun, but, but we're having a bad time, basically, if that makes sense. What time does this come out? The new season starts tomorrow, and the showcase for the season goes live in like 8 minutes. Yeah, the season is supposed to come out every 3 months. There's supposed to be story elements, new loot, new activities, new playable characters. That's what they're doing. The maps are only for incursion missions. Yeah, well, and then there's going to be the else worlds. Like, we're going to go to other places, and I thought we would go to other places and like fight different enemies, fight different bosses. because we would be in the different areas, but right, all 200 people playing will like this. I'm gonna refresh their channel here and see. Oh, there it is. They're live. Okay. So yeah, season starts tomorrow. Yeah, Eugene, I wasn't sure if it was going to be a premiere or not. Oh, how many people are in the Rocksteady stream? Yeah, good question. Less than we have. They have 210. They just went live, though, so we'll see. I mean, they've only been live for 5 minutes. We'll see if they don't get a little bit more traction. No Man's Sky Orbital Update brings its most requested feature at long last. After many years, you will now be able to create ships never seen before in Hello Games' massive space sandbox game. Oh, that's awesome. That's a good sign. What's a good sign? That we have more viewers than they do? That's almost as many people playing the game. Oh, come on. It's up to 265. I fear the wounds are fatal. Yeah. Investment in your character is very important for a game like this, says Jack. They need more reason to grind and improve their characters, not just trying out new characters. Well, I talked about this. Like, the guns feel great, but I need more than that. Like, and this is exactly what we were talking about with early access in the Elder Scrolls stream, right? If we would have been able to play this game a couple of years ago and provide that feedback that, like, yeah, the guns feel good, but like, what about the character? What about the character's abilities or melee or combat? Like, I want the character to feel like the character. This guy says, I have to point out that Elder Scrolls being one world doesn't guarantee more handcrafted. Each realm is usually separated by loading screens, no different than the different planets in Starfield. I believe that there was a lot of what was wrong with Fallout 76. Good point, but bigger systems now. We have bigger systems. We have better systems to run these on. Making people pay to steal their intellectual property is wrong. When Doritos does focus groups or product testing, at least they pay people. Not much, but something. Feedback is not intellectual property. Feedback is not intellectual property. I do not agree with that. Like, if you decide to do early access and you provide feedback, that's not intellectual property. That's just what you think. You didn't come up with anything new. Now, you might come up with ideas to implement into the game, but that's not your intellectual property. That's just an idea that you have. You're really stretching the bounds of what intellectual property means. Remember that a year or two ago, I said that one of my biggest issues with the game was that the characters didn't seem different enough. Right, and I think we were in agreement back then. I said it does kind of look like a limited time mode in Fortnite. It was like we're just floating around the city and we're shooting. But then they released that video where they were interspersing the melee with the shooting, and then they were showing like that ultimate attack. And I was like, okay, it looks like it's going to be a little bit more choppy where you're able to kind of do both. But the problem is once you're actually in the game and you realize how infrequent it is that you need to do those things, I think it ends up sort of hurting it. Hang on, I gotta unmute. I just realized I have my browser muted. Okay, there we go. All right, let's give them some sound. Oh, wait. I was like, I don't know why I'm hearing talking. Yeah, when the game launched, the characters did feel unique. But then as the game went on, there was not enough distinguishing them.
Welcome to our Season 1 deep dive for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Throughout this show, we're going to be giving you a deep look at all the exciting new content that you have coming to the game very, very shortly. My name is Derek Brown, Community Manager here at Rocksteady, and joining me is Kane Sinopoulos, the slightly more important lead Community Manager here at Rocksteady as well.
Great to be here. Thank you, Derek.
Awesome. So to start off this show, I'm going to be talking to Jack and Johnny about our new playable character coming to Suicide Squad. It's going to be the Joker, the clown prince of crime himself.
Shortly after that, I'm going to be talking to Sam to go into Joker's Elseworlds, the new environment that players will be able to get their hands on in Season 1. And then after that, I'll be talking to Adonis to go through some of the shiny new gear and mechanics that are coming up as well.
And after that, we're going to be taking a look at some of the Battle Pass and store content we have for our fashion fanatics out there. Some awesome new outfits coming to the game, as well as plenty of other options for customization as well.
And once that's all done, we've invited our top content creators to come in so they can show us what they can do with the brand new Joker and in the brand new Elseworld.
Plenty to look forward to in the show and, of course, in Season 1 as well. But without any further ado, I think we should get into the rest of the action, get our devs in to talk more about the exciting content that we have coming in Season 1. So let's go to a trailer now for all the content coming in Season 1.
Task Force X, your orders are simple. Destroy Brainiac's operations, kill him, and retrieve the Joker.
To the hunt! Evil shall not escape my sight.
Brainiac's back for another round, and he's going funhouse on us. At least buy me dinner first.
I want more!
Time to paint this town purple. The sky's the limit on who I can kill next. Here's my punchline.
I'll be missing episodes when you're down. Hold my beer, guys. Abominable machine. Tremble.
This apocalypse has got novelty. You're dead. Here comes the Goon Squad.
I guess you'll fit right in.
Welcome, both Johnny and Jack, to our brand new digs here in the Rocksteady studio, all Joker-fied up. But before we get into the brand new playable character himself, Jack, I want to get a little bit of an overview as to what we're going to be expecting from new playable characters when they hit.
I've got it on my phone. I'll be right back.
The new characters, we have 4 new characters coming. Each one is kind of a completely new playable character with its own completely unique traversal mechanics, own unique traversal attacks, whole new talent tree, and even, new legendary items that play specifically with that character's playstyle. So on a gameplay level, I think players are going to really enjoy learning to master each of those characters. But then also on a narrative level, each of those characters is kind of the route into the Elseworld that you're kind of adventuring in that season. I think players are going to really enjoy getting to know them, rescuing them, and learning to play with them in each season. It'll be a big appeal of each of these seasons for players.
And so if we are going to be rescuing this new version of Joker, how does that tie in with the story? How are players going to be introduced to this new version of Joker? And at what point in his villain mission is he at this point?
So the Joker that you'll get to know in season 1 is an Elseworld Joker, as you say. He's from an alternate universe. He's not kind of the prime Arkhamverse Joker. And you meet him at a point where, kind of parallel to the Squad Zone adventure in the kind of launch story, he's been part of a different Suicide Squad that was also fighting against Brainiac and lost.
Yes.
So he's been captured by Brainiac's forces. He's, got a bone to pick with Brainiac as a result. The rest of his squad was killed. He's been wounded and captured. So he comes in with that energy of, wanting to get revenge. And then in terms of where he is in his own story, he's certainly at a kind of younger and more inexperienced point than the Arkhamverse Joker you'll know. He's, got something to prove. He's a bit less Machiavellian.
Yes.
And he's a bit more kind of aggressive and frantic and energetic. And he's got a kind of theatrical, almost like a performer energy, like a sort of vaudevillain type kind of energy that he brings to combat and to interaction with the rest of the squad. So yeah, he's coming in with a different perspective, and I think it'll be fun for players to see how he interacts with the squad, who obviously have history with his kind of, prime universe counterpart. So they have some preconceptions of him, some of which might be true, some of which prove to be different. So yeah, getting to learn that and getting to know about him, I think will be enjoyable for players.
And so speaking of preconceptions, obviously the Joker is an incredibly storied DC character at this point. And so when you're taking on a new version of him, as the writers have, I think, made a really compelling version of the Joker, how does that convert into gameplay, Johnny? How do you take this new version and build a traversal kit, a combat kit that fits in with the rest of the characters in the game?
Are they having problems with their broadcast?
And build a traverse combat kit that fits in with the rest of the characters in the game.
Did their broadcast die?
So we're in the city in a haphazard and chaotic way. It's almost akin to a drunken master style traversal, I consider it. You can be using it to have a violent explosion up into the air and then go and glide down as you then flip it over to a surfboard across a rooftop, knocking over enemies, and all of this chaotic carnage that he's causing just feels very Joker.
I think it's not only how you're traversing around the city, but how that also translates into combat. You're going to these incursion missions, the mayhem missions, taking the fight to Brainiac. What are some of the different kind of play styles and combat styles that we can expect to see from this new version of the Joker?
Yeah, so similarly, we wanted to try and extract the essence of Joker and convey that in his play styles. He's very much not one note, so these different facets of his personality.
Guys, I'm pushing the volume as best I can. Their volume's really inconsistent, so do your best to not constantly spam about the volume. It's not my fault.
About crowd control, survivability, melee, killing things up close and personal. We've then got Firestarter, which as it sounds, very much utilizes fire, burning, explosions, grenades, big booms, really just setting the world alight. And then we have Ringmaster, which is for the show-offs. Anyone out there who wants to spend more time in the air, killing things while airborne, looking fabulous while doing it, that is totally the style for them.
We maybe have a little bit more design space to get a bit more technical, a bit more of a higher skill ceiling for the combat and the traversal of our characters, which Joker, I mean, for me at least, has been a lot of fun stringing all his different aerial combos together, moving around the city. There's so much room for expression, I think, in terms of how you're traversing around.
You launch with Joker, you've got a lot of forward momentum that you can kind of curve and bend around to go where you want to go. Similarly, you can shoot when you're kind of in the air with Joker, but you're always moving. And that ends up giving you some really high scale opportunity moments where you can like launch over a rooftop. As you're flying over it, you can't arrest your momentum, but you can make use of it to shoot down on enemies, right? I think it's the same with Joker's new traversal attack, which is kind of like a from the air. It's almost like an aerial bombardment, kind of directly down in a cone. And I think timing that well with Joker's traversal becomes a really interesting skill challenge where you can kind of get a broad spread over a wide area or a tight spread on a small target for more damage if you're close to them. So getting all of that just right, I think the players are going to really enjoy that journey.
Awesome. Well, I, for one, cannot wait for the rest of our community to get a chance to play with the Joker and to try and master that new style of traversal and combat that he's going to bring to the table. And the place that they're going to be doing that is our new Joker Elseworld. The incursion missions, the mayhem missions for Season 1 will be taking place at this awesome new Joker-themed Elseworld. Jack, I'm going to say thank you so much for bringing us that update on Joker. Johnny, I'm going to ask you to stick around as Sam and Kane will be joining us very soon for this look at Joker Elseworld.
See what I'm saying? That stuff is so much louder than them.
Character, the Joker. I've kicked Derek out for the time being and I'm running the show. I'm joined by Johnny and Sam. So, Joker's Elseworlds. It's quite a bizarre and surreal environment that we're taking players to in Season 1. What's the story there, Sam?
Yes, so each season brings with it its own Elseworld, with its own flavour, and this Season 1 is based around the Joker, the new playable character. In his reality, he was his last surviving member of the Suicide Squad. Brainiac has captured him and is obsessed with him, wants to find out what makes him tick. This has kind of backfired on him, though, and has infected the actual terraforming process. So instead of Metropolis being turned into this new Callooh version, it's now covered in crazy reimagining of Joker's world and his mind. Buildings are turned into big birthday presents, they're covered in wrapping paper, there's toy soldiers scattered all over the place, there's parade balloons in the sky. We even have some casino elements, there's poker chips, cards everywhere, and then eventually you'll get to go in the next episode to the Daily Cackle, which is a Joker-fied reimagined version of everyone's favourite newspaper headquarters, Daily Planet.
Johnny, what other changes should we expect to come to Metropolis in Season 1?
So on top of phasing in strongholds, Brainiac has also been analysing the squad's data, analysing their tactics, and he's taken that information and then he is altering the DNA of his troops to better serve him and cause you more problems. What this means is that enemies will be gaining episodic buffs and resistances to certain tactics and abilities, so the squad will have to keep evolving in order to stay one step ahead and manage this new threat. However, Brainiac is not as perfect as he thinks he is, and whilst bringing in this new DNA and his new improvements, he's also added in a backdoor with new vulnerabilities and new weaknesses. So players will have to play through and try and find out what the pros and cons now of these new changes. So one example being that bombers might now suddenly drop more grenades reliably, or Batman and Fuse will now be susceptible to deep freeze. So it's finding these things out, and only by playing it and trying what works and what doesn't work, players will discover these new challenges.
So now that we've learned a bit more about this new Joker's Elseworld, what new challenges can players expect when they jump into it?
So the squad are in hostile territory here. This is where Brainiac is his most powerful, and this is where he's at his most dangerous. And for us getting to develop this was really exciting, coming up with new challenges for the players to play and to really experience. One way we're doing that is by changing up the mutators. So, and these really mix up the way players will have been playing with the game and how their abilities and how their gear sets work. One example is the All New Me mutator, which just adds a resurrection mechanic for the enemies. So you kill them, they'll keep coming back. The only way to stop this though is you can counter them or shield harvest or poison them. So there are ways around this, but again, it's ways for players to take these systems and then put a spin on them. We've also got new incursions for players to engage with. These ones have stripped out a lot of the activity elements and they really focus on the beautiful art of killing things dead. So players can really have a lot more choice now of how they experience the Elseworld's endgame and how they want to push those mastery levels. So there's picking the missions they want to do and using that to bring up their mastery level. We've also got a brand new feature in facilities. These are provided by Lex, and these act as limited or time-limited buffs for the squad. So they use them, they apply to the entire squad, and they really help turn the tide of battle. One example being the Diablo Blaze aura. So what this does is this applies to the squad, and this gives them this Diablo Blaze effect on them on a range. So players can run up to enemies, set them on fire, and move around the area, and just setting fire to absolutely everything. So it's up to the squad then to really determine how close they get, and they have to balance then. Do they, they get up close and personal, or do they really try and defend themselves at the same time? So these are time limited. So the trick here is really popping them at the right time, being able to maximize damage output and not wasting them too early. These facilities are seeded across all of our Elseworlds maps. These are incursions and our new Mayhem mission, which has got a new boss fight. So all of these things here and all of these things is a lot to engage with in this part of this season.
Sam, Johnny, thank you so much for sharing what's coming in our new Joker's Elseworlds. Next up, I'm going to be joined by Adonis, who's going to come and talk to us about the new gear and some of the new mechanics that are coming in Season 1. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ken. I'm happy to be here.
So we've got some exciting new upcoming changes to gear, new gear sets and builds in Season 1. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I sure can. So our shining star, or should I say shining villain, for our Episode 1 gear set is none other than DC's Scarecrow. And his gear and weapons are all featured around his specialty fear, toxins, and poisons like that. So his weapons have this thing called Mind Melt, where when you do a crit reload, it lets you build up a stack and lets you apply poison to your enemies. And he also has this thing called Shielded Mine on his shields, where when you get afflicted by those nasty snipers that stun you or the helicopters that freeze you, then you'll be able to get more shields from the enemies to help you bounce back. And we're also adding the new poison condition to the game. This does not only damage over time, but allows you to synergize with other items and get you other bonuses through different mechanics.
Nice. So if I got myself a set of tier 1 set of Scarecrow set,
Yeah.
how would that feel to play?
So the tier 1 set features an ability called Poisoned Mind. When you poison enemies, you get a poisoned mind, and you can spend that poisoned mind to do big shield harvest damage. That limit of that damage is really high, by the way, so you can really harvest them and get your shields back to survive. So if you play the tier 1 set, you're going to have a lot of poison enemies, a lot of shield harvestable enemies. So you're going to be putting in an honest day's work at the farm, honestly.
Nice. Great. So are there any other bonuses to playing with the full sets?
Yeah, so we're introducing something that we call episodic villain bonuses. So Scarecrow is the feature villain of this episode. If you play with his gear set, you will get extra bonuses for per tier, per item, actually. If you were playing with a different villain in a different episode, then it would go to that villain's gear set only, and Scarecrow would no longer be the active villain. So with things like this, Scarecrow tier 1, you would get damage reduction, critical hit damage, more shields, all the things that help you survive and really punish the enemies for just existing. So say bye to Brainiac's troops, basically.
Nice. Sounds great. Do we have any other surprises coming?
Yes, we do. We have a whole new weapon manufacturer, Intergang, and they have weapons supplied by the new gods of Apocalypse themselves. And we interpreted that as futuristic weapons, basically. Very fast-firing guns that have a spread when they shoot, almost like a shotgun. I feel like they're going to make it to a lot of people's builds, honestly.
Any other iconic themed gear that's coming? Any more notorious weapons?
Yes, that's true. Glad you asked. Yeah, we have some new guns based on DC's Merlin. And Merlin is a very deadly assassin, so his weapons are very deadly accurate. And not only do they do massive critical damage, but they also allow you to debuff enemies on the crit, so you can ruin their day further. We also have Dr. Poison. Dr. Poison Mara's 2 injector is another some of our feature notorious weapons. And they have 2 modes. They have a normal mode where you just poison the enemies that you hit, and they have an alt fire mode where you do massive damage to any enemies that are poisoned and spread that poison further amongst Brainiac's forces. And that's not all. We have other items to make you mind sharp, like Black Manta, other items to make you really lethal, like Reverse Flash, and even to make you really spotty, like Polka Dot Man.
Sounds like there's quite a selection to choose from there.
Yeah, there is.
Well, thank you, Adonis. There's so much more that we could go into in gears and builds, but I think that's enough for our players to start theory crafting some things.
I'm sure the players are going to be really thrilled to get their hands on all this shiny new gear.
I'm having to turn it down anytime they're not talking because these sections are super loud.
For this next section, I'm joined by Albert, and Jack is back again to take us through some of the awesome outfits that we have coming in this season. I've been taking a look, Albert, and I am absolutely loving what we have in store coming in the Battle Pass. So what can our players expect to see when Season 1 launches?
So the outfit family in the Battle Pass for Season 1 is Wayne Tech, and this will be available for Deadshot, for Harley Quinn, King Shark, and Joker. So we use Wayne Tech because it's such a staple in the Batman universe, and with Batman out of the way, we wondered, what if Lucius Fox made some cool outfit for our squad? We fantasized with the idea of putting high-tech costumes, like the different paneling, the logos on their chest, the cowls with the glowing eyes. They essentially become anonymous symbols for the city. So that was the idea. People who have played the Arkham games, they will be familiar with the detective mode swatch. We also added another swatch that is completely black with red highlights to hint at Batman Beyond. And this outfit family comes with head variants, body variants, the enhanced reversal, which allows you to change not just the way you look, but also the VFX and the trails of when you're moving, and tons of other color switches. So yeah.
I mean, King Shark in the armor looks really, really good. You can sort of imagine Shark leaning over rooftops and growling about being the night, So I enjoy that energy.
Awesome. But aside from the outfits that are going to be contained within the Battle Pass, a lot of our players want to know, how's it going to work? What can they experience in the Battle Pass when it launches in Season 1?
So there's a free track of the Battle Pass that's available to everyone, and that will have some of the Wayne Tech family that we just discussed in there. And then there's also other things in that Battle Pass, like, you've got emotes, you've got banners, you've got other kind of customization options for your character and your kind of profile as well. But then there's a premium track, which you can buy in the store and unlock, additional rewards for progressing through the Battle Pass. You can make that purchase at any time. So it's one of those things where you can progress on the free track if you want, and then later, if you've reached level 40 in the Battle Pass, and then you go into the store and buy it, you'll get all the rewards from 1 to 40 that you'd already earned, right? And that would include the full Wayne Tech family with lots of those color swatches we talked about, outfits for King Shark, for Harley Quinn, for Deadshot, and for the Joker from the Wayne Tech family. Plus, a whole bunch of other new cool stuff, win poses, lose poses, rival taunts, emotes, all that kind of good stuff. And then it also includes 1,000 Luther coin, which you can use to either buy more stuff in the store or put towards the next Battle Pass, so you kind of have that choice as a player. I think we've set it up in a way that's really fair to players, whether they want to spend money or not, whether they want to spend money now or later.
Yeah.
That's fine. We just want people to enjoy the game and get access to the cool outfits we're making for them.
We have some very nice new outfits that we have coming in Season 1. Bit of a downgrade technologically, I think it's fair to say, when compared to the Wayne Tech outfits, but I think just as cool in terms of how they look.
One of the Rocksteady favorite families is the Super Zeros, which is essentially how would the squad turn themselves into the Justice League by just finding basic materials like cardboard boxes, strings, food tins, bean bags, rolls of paper, stuff like that, just to make something that looks ridiculously fun. This family is for Joker, who comes as Batman, Captain Boomerang, that comes as Flash, Harley Quinn is as Wonder Woman, and then King Shark as Superman, of course. We also have the enhanced traversal customization, which changes the trails to be glittery.
I love the King Shark one. It's so great.
There are a couple of other ways, or a couple of other outfits, I should say, that can be earned in Season 1.
Yeah, so there are some completely free color variants, swatches, that you can earn for Joker, much like in the launch game, just by playing through absolutely free. Just play the game.
Fantastic. And play the game, I'm sure our community will when Season 1 launches very soon. And also, a few people who played the game were a few of our favorite content creators who we got to sit down and play through an incursion mission with all of them playing as the Joker, showcasing his traversal, his combat, his outfits, the new gear that we have as well, an amalgamation of everything that we've talked about in this show. So take a look as we take down an incursion mission with the full Joker mission.
Hey guys, my name's Jav. I'm a full-time content creator covering pretty much every looter shooter going, and you may recognize me from some of the previous Insider episodes, as I was part of a very small group of creators that got early access to the game. The first build that you can see here is what we've called the Poisoned Harvester. Now, this build revolves around poison, as well as harvesting and countering your enemies to spread that poison, and poison is a key part of Scarecrow's infamy set, which will be used as a primer when it comes to activating some of the awesome talents. Now, to get the most out of this set, we've equipped a full tier 1 Scarecrow infamy set. This will give us bonus critical hits and apply poison on enemy hits. And if you kill poisoned enemies, this also triggers Poisoned Mind. This can stack up to 10 times and last up to 30 seconds. And each stack of this will increase your chances of triggering enemies to become shield harvestable from poison damage by 5%. Now, whilst that sounds like a small amount, this is actually on tick and not on the initial application of poison. So by applying poison to a huge group of targets, you will actually see some huge damage numbers. Now, this build also harnesses Dr. Poison's Maru 2 Injector, which is a notorious auto rifle. Enemies hit with this weapon become poisoned, making it a very easy applicator and primer to triggering the infamy set. I also paired this with the Epidemic Pistol, and this is really to make the most of the talent, as countering a poisoned enemy has a 50% chance of spreading poison to all enemies within 30 meters. And if you can do that as a critical counter, this will switch to a 100% chance. Alongside that, we have the Rotten Feast, which is a legendary flail, which is Joker's melee weapon. This will increase the chance of putting poisoned enemies into a harvestable state by 50%, and harvesting poisoned enemies will drop 100% more shield. And finally, the Harvest Express, which is a legendary lucky charm. This is where melee hits on an enemy consume 20 combo, but it will make all enemies within 15 meters harvestable. As you can see, this is incredibly rewarding, and by having overcharged overshields, it will keep you in the thick of the action and all your enemies begging for mercy. Now, Joker is fun, wacky, and has some hilariously fun builds. We also have the Slow-Mo Crit Clown. This one specializes in slowing down your enemy, juggling them, and prioritizing crit damage. This one's going to prioritize the Great Suspender melee weapon, where melee hits put enemies within 10 meters in slow motion. And we've also paired that with a notorious grenade called Black Mask's Target Priority. So this is where your grenade does no damage, but instead causes enemies hit by it to get launched in slow motion, whilst taking 200% more damage for 30 seconds, and become targeted by enemies afflicted by Venom Frenzy within 200 meters. Now, by juggling our enemies using our melee weapon and grenade, we're going to use the Turkey Shoot shotgun. Now, this firearm does 250% increased critical hit damage, and when enemies are in slow motion, you get 100% crit hit chance against them. And to finish off this build, we have the Magic Number, a legendary neck bomb, and when you juggle an enemy, the enemy explodes and hits all enemies within 25 meters, and enemies hit by that explosion either become poisoned, put into slow motion, or become harvestable. Now, this build alone creates many avenues to juggle your enemy, whether that's sliding through them by gliding on rooftops, using your melee weapon or grenade. They all unlock high crit chance and crit damage options, and make for a very fast, fun and snappy build. So as you can see, there's a lot of build diversity, and the biggest question you have isn't just the build you're going to use, but who are you going to drop from your squad when it comes to trying out the Joker.
This all looks great, but like, again, this is working against live service, because like that all felt very like you're by yourself. It'd be so hard to do all that with a bunch of people shooting. Like whenever I was playing with my wife, that was one of the conflicts, is like you can't do a lot of that cool stuff if there's other people around, because they're stealing your kills, they're ruining the rhythm. You know what I mean?
The first build I have to try out is the aptly named Burn Baby Burn. This build takes full advantage of the Joker's love of fire and explosions, using a collection of notorious items and talents to make sure that if it isn't ablaze, it soon will be. The build combines new notorious items like the Polka Dot Man's Spotty Explosion, which is a next level cluster grenade, with each of the clusters having a 50% chance to spawn more polka dots, making this a great way to spread Diablo Blaze over a massive area. Add in the Joker's Temper and High Crimes talents, and you're getting an additional 50% damage to burning enemies, and firearm kills on burning enemies spawn grenade ammo. Top this off with the Heat Wave Molten Skin Shield mod for survivability through that 90% damage reduction when you burn a new enemy, and you're in for a pretty good time. For me, the Polka Dot Man Spotty Explosion Grenade is a must-have for Season 1. This grenade is all kinds of chaotic in the best kind of way. Next up, I get a chance to play with the new Tier 1 Scarecrow Infamy set, the Poisoned Mind, with a build nicknamed the Maru Poisoner. The goal with this build is to apply as much poison to as many enemies as possible, then reap the rewards of the Infamy set using a few extra notorious items to give the set a bit of a boost. Starting out using the Dr. Poison's Maru 2 injector to apply poison on hit, tagging as many enemies as possible, then getting kills on poison enemies to start stacking Poisoned Mind, which thanks to the 2-piece bonus increases the chance of poisoned enemies to become shield harvestable per tick of poison. This then opens up the chance to get stuck in with the Mad Hatter's 3-leaf clover melee weapon, to start smacking enemies around, doing huge damage to harvestable enemies, with the 3-piece bonus of the Tier 1 Infamy set giving us an extra 50% damage to shield harvestable enemies, per stack of Poisoned Mind. You can see with this build how the game loop begins to develop where you're poisoning enemies and then swooping in to finish them off with a shield harvest. And if I want to spread that poison a little bit further, I can swap to the legendary assault rifle Epidemic, which has a 50% chance to spread poison to all enemies within 30 meters on a counter. This goes up to 100% if I manage to get a critical counter. Unlike the first build I tried out, the Maru Poisoner doesn't use the effect it applies as its main source of damage, but instead uses poison as a type of primer, setting you up to string together some hard-hitting shield harvest attacks. I have to say, I am a fan of the new notorious assault rifle Dr. Poison's Maru 2 injector. Applying poison on hit is a solid and reliable way to apply poison at a range. Plus, its secondary fire giving you an extra 250% crit damage to poisoned enemies makes stacking Poisoned Mind a breeze. I have to say I've had an absolute blast playing the Joker, and a massive thank you to Rocksteady for letting me get hands on with the character and taking him for a spin early. I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of crazy builds the community comes up with when this guy goes live with Season 1. Now let's get back to Derek and Kane on the couch. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, guys, for lending us your sick Joker skills in that awesome run-through of an incursion mission. Cannot wait to jump into it in just a few days when Season 1 launches. But with that, we're all done taking you through the content that is going to be coming in Season 1 with our new playable character in the Joker, the new Joker-themed Elseworlds gear, all playable for free for owners of the game, as well, of course, as the awesome cosmetics that are going to be coming to the game in Season 1.
Yes, thank you everyone for tuning in. That's all we have for the time being, but we look forward to seeing you in Joker's Elseworlds soon.
We'll see you
Take
there.
care.
So I feel like they have a lot of good ideas, but I just don't feel like it makes for a compelling offer. Like the idea of like the modifiers and all the new builds and, you know, all of the new things you can do. Like it looked awesome, but like it just doesn't feel like a compelling offer. It's like it just all feels like stuff that I've already done. I'm just gonna kill the enemies differently now. I didn't see new enemies. I didn't see new mechanics. I don't feel like I saw new content. There's supposed to be storyline stuff with Two-Face and Scarecrow. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. Again, I feel like the base game didn't deserve 4, 5s, and 6s. But as a live service game, I feel like it's just not getting traction in my brain. I'm like, I don't really see what you think people are going to come back for. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't get it. Like, yeah, they only had 1,000 people watching. We had almost 400 people here. We had a third of their viewership. That's not good. That's not good. They have good ideas. I think the interest in the game world is the problem. I'm telling you, I fell off the train tracks when I finished the game. I was like, I don't have any desire to go over into the end game. They didn't do a good job of that. That baton pass just didn't happen. I was like, that was fun. 20-something hours, 25, 26 hours of gameplay. I had a good time. I played with my wife. I had no desire to go into the end game. It was like, it's just literally more of the exact same stuff to get more guns that might have like slightly different perks and abilities. Like, there was no compelling reason for me to min-max or to come up with a really cool build. There just wasn't. They didn't create that environment that felt winsome and like, oh, it's going to draw me in. I'm going to go make these awesome builds and I'm going to go do this end game stuff. And so when I went into today, I thought, okay, Joker's looking pretty fun. I don't know if that's going to be necessarily enough to get people to come back because, again, we know the primary focus of the game is the guns. By the way, guys, if you haven't hit the like button yet, take a second and smash the like button. Make sure it's saving your likes. So I thought, okay, well, what about the new gameplay? You know, maybe we'll go into the new gameplay. There'll be new stuff to do, new mechanics, new enemies to fight. It looks to me like the new variant fights of Green Lantern and Superman, you're actually fighting Brainiac. I think that's what the mechanic is. I could be wrong, but remember when we fought Brainiac and it was basically the Flash? I feel like we're literally fighting like Brainiac as Green Lantern. Like Brainiac was talking and then we're in Brainiac's lair fighting Green Lantern. So we didn't really get an in-depth look. We did not really get an in-depth look at those fights. We didn't get an in-depth look at Strongholds. And Elseworlds is like, okay, everything looks different, but it's still the same enemies. How can they fix it? Oh my gosh. This is too big for a how can they fix it video or commentary for me. It's just too big. I think that they put too many chips on the table thinking that people would really like the gunplay, and if the gunplay's good, but it just isn't good enough. I don't think the characters feel that compelling. They're fun. I had a good time when I was playing, but I largely thought things were going to either change or they were going to dig more into the skill trees. They were going to dig more into the melee or into my abilities. It largely was me running around as King Shark, shooting everything, slamming into people, getting my shields back, throwing a grenade, and then doing it all over again. And it feels awesome. It does. It feels awesome to do those things. They nailed that aspect. But that's always the problem. I've said this time and time again. You can build a really fun gameplay loop. That doesn't mean I'm going to come back in a month or two and keep playing. You have to have a compelling reason for me to come back and keep playing. I didn't see anything today that checks that box. I didn't see anything today that tells me, oh yeah, you're definitely going to want to log in and play as the Joker so you can do more, combinations of explosions and killing the same enemies in the same encounters that you've already played. To me, I feel like they way too rigidly applied like the Destiny format. Like when Destiny would do a new season, you would come back and play largely the same enemies, largely the same types of encounters, but you'd have new weapons and armor and new exotics to chase, right? I think that worked in Destiny because Destiny was a compelling world to be in. There was a communal aspect to Destiny. You wanted to play with your friends. You wanted to play with your buds. There was also matchmaking. Everything they showed us today was so single-player focused. I was like, everything the Joker was doing looked awesome, and all I could think was, if there's other people around, I won't be able to do any of that. Whenever I was playing with my wife, like, I'd be like, oh, I need to get my shields back, and I would go to punch somebody to get my shields back, and she would shoot them or drop a grenade, and then they would be gone. So much of what they were doing, like chaining things together and doing all those things, yeah, it looks great when there's nobody else around, but in the chaos of 3 and 4 people running around shooting, all of that works against those really fun things that they just showcased. So that again is back to what I said. Like, there's no communal aspect to the game. It doesn't feel like a larger game world with a slow revelation of a story and an ongoing lore. It's just you on your map chasing loot to do like, oh, new cool things. And it's like, I don't think they're doing anything wrong. I just don't think they're doing enough. Like, all of their ideas are so good on paper, you know? Like, new weapons. Like, the way they described how the weapons work. They have a surprising amount of adeptness with being able to create, like, builds with poison and dot damage. And if you do this, then you can chain this. And then when you chain this, it does that. Like, I think they're really good at that. But it's like, again, that's just all landing in the same dadgum sandbox place activity that I've already done for 20-something hours. Microtransactions win again. Nothing you saw today costs money except for one section where they talked about the battle pass. There's a premium portion. Everything you saw today is free. It's free. Joker's free. The new Elseworlds are free. The new loot is free. It's all free. Good game, wrong skin is where I've fallen. I said it before the stream even started. If this was a generic looter shooter from Gearbox, I would have a very different mindset. But because it's the Justice League, it's just like, I'm not necessarily in the mood right now for like a generic looter shooter, and even then, I don't think coming back for some new weapons or some new builds. Like, let me say it another way. One of the reasons that Destiny was compelling to long-standing players was because you would come back and you would grind and you would level and you'd get new armor and you'd get new weapons and you'd get new exotics, and then there was a dungeon or there was a raid. There was a sense of purpose behind what you were doing. Okay, so I saw the Joker. Okay, he looks kind of cool. I saw some crazy builds for the Joker. All right, that's sick. What am I doing? Well, it looked like I was just going to be doing a bunch of what I've already been doing, a bunch of the same activities, a bunch of the same enemies, a bunch of the same mechanics. You see what I'm saying? If you created an environment where, oh, I'm doing all this so I can go run this crazy hard thing, and then there'll be all this crazy great loot in it, awesome. But largely, all the endgame content loops that I've seen, it's like, it's just the same stuff over and over again that we've already been doing. There doesn't seem to be a genuine spiral staircase. You know, the spiral staircase that I always talked about in like The Division or in like Anthem, where you gear up to go up. You're like, oh, I'm getting stronger. My build's pretty awesome. Spiral staircase, right? You're going up into, you know, harder activities, new activities. I just didn't see anything today that's like, yeah, man, I can't wait to go back and grind so I can do that really awesome activity that I did literally through the entire campaign. If it wasn't DC Comics, I'd probably be playing it. Have you ever given Division a try? Division 2 still doing quite well. I just am not interested in min-maxing games. I'm not. I like looter shooters, but I don't like min-maxing. I don't want to... It just doesn't appeal to me. Yeah. Division 2 has got some great stuff. They've done some great content ads, but it doesn't interest me at all. No raids, no PvP, no dungeons. What am I getting strong for? That's such a good, concise way of putting it, Chris. That's exactly right. What's the point? What's the point? Because, like, in Helldivers, why is Helldivers working? Number one, it's got a communal aspect. There's something ongoing. So it's like, I'm not just playing to get gear. I'm adding to an ongoing story. I'm adding to the galactic war. But I'm also getting stronger. I'm also getting stratagems so that I can increase the difficulty. And when I increase the difficulty, I get more resources. And when I get more resources, I can level up my ship, right? You feel like you're kind of moving in a direction. And I feel like because so much of Kill the Justice League relied upon stuff that we had already been doing, it didn't actually feel like you were transitioning into something new or something like, oh, this is now harder. This is now more rewarding. It just felt like, well, yeah, I'm going into the activities and the things I've already done, and the gun colors are different now, or I don't know. It's hard to explain because it just doesn't deliver that. Community-based gaming, what we love about Helldivers. I enjoyed the endgame, but I do agree. I wish there was more raid-like content. The same 3 missions over and over got old. Yeah. Guys, do me a favor and smash that like button, man. Good turnout today for this. I mean, I know the interest was just not there. Like, they didn't have that many viewers. They had like 1,000 viewers. We've had like anywhere from 350 to 360. So, like, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I know a lot of you are probably just not interested in this game whatsoever. I'm going to have to question it and discuss it with Creature in the writer's room. I don't even know about diving in and playing tomorrow. I really don't. I don't know. I'm not sure. Behemoth with the 10 bomb says, we can still make this stream a good stream. And he takes us to 40 members out of 50. If we hit 50 members on the day, I will owe you guys 5 more. Now, you guys can move this number by becoming a member yourself. You don't have to sit around and wait for a gift. And if you pick up your own membership, pick the $6 tier. The $5 tier is reserved for gifteds. If you want to gift some members, feel free. We went on a 26 single gifted train earlier. I tuned in to support you. Well, I appreciate that. I really do. And thank you again, Behemoth. Behemoth says, come on, another 10. He's sending somebody to throw down a 10 bomb. I think they didn't go too in-depth with the live service and the raid dungeon stuff is because they expected a lot of people who like Arkham and single-player games to play this, so they didn't want to alienate them. I think that's you know what? That's like really insightful into something that I've not considered. They tried to straddle 2 fences and they ended up hurting themselves. Yo, Dan gifts the member. Thank you so much, Dan, taking us to 41. They basically tried to have it feel like it does have like that single player focus, but also they're trying to be like a live service looter shooter. It's like it can't be both. Like, so much of what they showed me today looked awesome if I'm completely by myself in combat. Right? You can't do a lot of what the Joker was doing if there's other people around. Why? Because all those enemies are going to get killed. They're all going to get killed. It's like, what? You can't do... The reason that he was by himself in all those instances is because you need there to be, like, nobody around in order to do all of that. If any of the AI or your buddies are shooting the enemies, you're not going to be able to do any of the stuff they were showcasing. It isn't going to look that cool because all the enemies are going to be dying. You're not going to see like 25 enemies, you know, have crit numbers flying off of them. The Diablo 4 approach. Right, like straddling 2 identities, Wheezy. It's like... I'm super bummed. I actually thought this game had a ton of potential. I actually thought, you know... Two-thirds of my playthrough, I was really enjoying it. I was like, I think this game's got something special. And then I turned that corner the last 25% of the game or so. When I finished it and rolled credits, I was like, I don't think that I want to play anymore at all. It like completely changed my mind. Like I went from sort of defending the game, saying it had potential, saying it was fun, to being like, dude, I'm good. This isn't going to even make my top 5, top 10 list of the year. Like, no, it isn't going to. It fell right off the table for me. Increasing mob density wouldn't exactly work. It already gets pretty crazy. Mob count multiplies by people present anyway. What are you talking about? The NPCs are always with you, and when I played with Madam, the mob count didn't seem any different. And what they were playing against in that sequence, it looked like normal mob count to me. There were mobs everywhere. I mean, he was shooting 20 people at a time. That's typical in those areas where like rooftop, like 3 or 4 rooftop clusters. That always looked the same to me when I was with either playing with my wife or playing by myself. I never felt like the mob density changed. I played with the full crew the one day on stream. I didn't feel like the mob density changed at all. Yeah, that's exactly right, Dante. I think the other big problem with this game is if this game would have launched in 2022 when there was some pretty big game droughts, it might have done better. But there's just so many dadgum games out. Like if you're choosing between this and Helldivers, you're going to choose Helldivers almost every time. Killing more things doesn't make for a more intriguing game. That's exactly right. It just isn't a compelling offer. You're exactly right on the money about them trying to satisfy 2 schools of thought and thus fumbling both efforts. Right. It's like it's not live service enough, but it's also not single player enough. It's like both people are going to walk away being like, there's not enough food here for me to eat. You know? For me, it's a brain dead chill game. That being said, I'm not rebuying it on my PS5. I agree with you. It's a fun brain dead knock around game, Dan, for sure. But that can only take you so far if you want it to be a live service game where I'm coming back in. Does that make sense? So I'm going to set up the writer's room. That's the next thing we're going to be going to. I'll give you guys a little bit of time. If you want to try and get 9 more members, I'll give you a little bit of time to do that since we are so close. And then I'll give you a total member count. If you get 9 more, I'll owe you 5. That'll be like 14 more members. And that would put us at 2150. We have slipped quite a bit. So I don't think 2500 is going to happen this week. So unless you guys go and have like a record-breaking day on Wednesday and Thursday, which we've done that before. No, I'm sorry. Today is Wednesday. We'd have to have a record-breaking day on Thursday, I think. What account is that got suspended, Eugene? What's Writer's Room? If you are a member of this stream at the $6 tier or higher, the Writer's Room is an extra piece of content that we do at the end of every day where we plan the next day's content and shows. So that's an extra piece of content. So I usually do 1 to 2 streams a day. We also do uploads. And then when we're done with all of that content's free, we do extra content for the members. And the Writer's Room, you basically can contribute to the content with ideas, what should we cover, what's going on in the gaming news. Okay. There we go. Also, when you're a paying member, you can get into our members-only Discord. So if you get a gifted member, you can get into that, and you get into some of the members-only content. But at the $6 tier, it goes quite a bit. It goes higher. I'm sorry, we have more content. I said that wrong. Okay, let me set up redirect. And if we could get 5 more likes on the video, that would be amazing. Guys, we're so close to 200 likes. All right, I'll consider that, Kirk. I don't know if by the time Monday rolls around, I care to have a single video about that game anymore. The interest is just not there. The interest is gone. I could see doing one more show and being like, I was wrong. I don't know. I think that's the call. I think I got it wrong. I think I misfired. Yo, Patrick takes us to 42. Are you guys going to try and buzzer beat this? Are you? I'll give you 7 minutes. I got the members' writer's room scheduled for 2 o'clock. You got 7. And Dan comes in with the 5 bomb and says we don't need 7 minutes. He's going to get us really, really close and takes us to 47 members on the day. Thank you so much, Dan. What mastery level did you get? I didn't get. I literally rolled credits and didn't go back. I didn't feel like I wanted to. It didn't compel me. They did a No, not Rise. I feel like I misfired on Kill the Justice League. I saw all this potential and I saw all this opportunity for it to work as a live service game, and no. I think it's done. I don't think it has what it takes. I don't think it has legs. I think they're done. I think they'll push out the content that was already made, and then that'll be it. That'll be the end of it. I wouldn't even be surprised if we see bandwidth reallocation, like they start shifting people around. Never click with me on the closed alpha. Yeah, a lot of people told me, they're like, I don't know, Lono, I've played it. And then I started playing it. I was like, I don't know, this is really fun. You know? Dan says, come on, effers. You guys are 3 away from 50. I think they already did, thus the delay. Oh, is this season delayed? All right, you guys got 5 minutes. If we hit it, I'm just gonna bail. Once we hit 50, I'm out. I'll pay my my dues, and then we'll get. There's one from Harbinger. He says, "Come on, boys, we only need 3." There's one from JC that takes us to 49. We need one more. Who's gonna take the crown? $87.12. What was yesterday like? There it is. Stone Spire's gonna take it. All right, let's go. Let's get. There's 50. Let's get out of here. I'm gonna give 5. All right. There's the 5 that I owe. You gifted 5 but refunded. Oh, did it not work? No worries, Behemoth. We got it. All right, there's the link to Writer's Room. All right. Thanks so much for being a Reforge member or higher. This is going to be the Writer's Room after we did a stream about, and we hit 50 members on the day. So thank you guys so much for that. We're cruising along, keeping the member count strong. The Friday night stream probably won't happen because it could. You guys just have to go crazy on Thursday. The week is slipping away and the member count is dropping, which is typical at the end of the month. So we had a good day though. We covered Elder Scrolls, why I think it should be early access. We covered the Justice League stream. I'm going to end that stream, bring everybody over on redirect.